Welcome to the KimAppa podcast. I'm Jarrod Kimber, and with me is Uthappa. See, I had this whole thing of whether during the intro I could put the helmet on, and then I realized I've got these stupid big ear headphones on today because my other
Where
ones
are the
wouldn't work.
small earphones?
So they wouldn't work. That's why I spent about 20 minutes before play. Anyway, I got a helmet, man, but I can't wear it for this one.
No, you gotta no. Listen now. Okay, again, listen. Where this exercise has become so long drawn right now. This exercise has gotten so long drawn right now. You've got one more week, Mr. Kimber. The next live, you figure your crap out, you figure your shit out, and you wear that helmet for the episode. We gotta
Okay,
give
so
the viewers what they need.
I've got a fun story for you. So I bought the
Okay,
helmet and
congratulations.
I was telling my son about how you said that you get used to a helmet by wearing it while you watch TV. So I go in the kitchen to cook, right? And I come back in to watch him, and he's just watching The Simpsons with a cricket helmet on.
That's the way to do it. That's how you do it. That's how
His
you gotta
problem
do it.
isn't the helmet, though. We've actually taken it to a new level for him. His problem is cricket pads. So now I've got him going around the house in cricket pads because when he runs, it's like he's got stilts in his legs. So I said, you have to get used to them. So now he does jobs around the house with cricket pads on. So it's not that uncommon to see him sitting watching the TV with cricket pads and a helmet on at the moment. So this is all your
Actually,
fault.
make him wear the thigh pads as well, because those are the ones that are most uncomfortable for kids. Thigh pads and the abdomen guards. Those are the ones that are really uncomfortable for kids. Like they start walking wonky. And we used to walk
what
wonky
I
for
hate
the
the most
longest time.
about junior cricketers is they won't put their thigh pads under their trousers and they put it on top.
Yeah, it's
like,
very annoying.
Oh, and then you talk to them, they go, someone will see my penis. I'm like, no one cares about your penis, right? And you got underwear on. Just put it, tuck it in. It looks silly.
Yeah, you get cricket underwears now where you like you don't like you just get cricket underwears that has an extra pouch there, and then the guard goes into the pouch. It's simple.
You're always testing me. When did you first notice that? Because when we started playing cricket, that was not a thing. And then suddenly one of your friends turned up with those. And I remember the whole change room looking over going, what is happening here? Because we used to wear like two pair. I had teammates who would wear two pairs of underwear because they didn't want the box on their skin, right? Whereas I didn't care. I just put it into my underwear. But I remember that being a thing. And then that one day that guy comes in with that cricket underwear and there's like a light goes off in the change room and like you hear angels singing in the background.
Okay, I'll tell you a funny story. Okay, so growing up, when I first started playing cricket, I never really wore the abdomen guard because I was like, it was uncomfortable and I wouldn't wear it.
Wait, what?
And
you didn't wear a box?
I don't wear a box for, I think the first year maybe a year and a half of cricket, right? And because you had to put it into your underwear, and there wasn't any cricket underwear, cricket undergarments then. So you're like, okay,
and they're
man,
always
this is
cold.
like really
It doesn't matter what temperature they are; they're always cold.
Yeah,
just,
and it's like those hard plastic.
Yeah,
the hard plastic. It's just not fun, right?
No.
And so I avoided it. And I remember you get boxes with belts that time, right? With belts and buckles, right? So you put the box, and then it had extensions on it, and then it would go around your waist, and then you had to wear it, which is a freaking task.
Yeah, it was the American style jock strap they tried in cricket for a little while. That's what it is, isn't it?
No, that was the first type of cricket underwear that I actually saw. What are we talking about? But anyway. Okay.
So you've got a plastic thing in front of you dangling, and now you're putting your garter belt on.
Yeah, so it's like a garter belt, literally. And then I remember I was playing a practice match in our academy, and the ball, and we obviously didn't have thigh pads and all that growing up. So the ball, I think, hit me just above my groin, like so, and so like literally between the groin and the abdomen. And I kind of sat down, and then they were like, "Oh, take off your guard." I said, "I'm not wearing a guard." So they're like, "What? You're not wearing a guard?" Then my coach came, and he actually, from somewhere, like got a guard that had the whole shebang of the buckle and the belt and the whole thing. And then he's like, "Okay, don't wear it like this." He put everything into the into the guard, and then he put it in. He made me wear it. It was so uncomfortable. I was like, luckily the buckles didn't poke me, thank God. But oh my God, that was like crazy. And that was
So
the first time I wore a guard. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I got to get a guard that suits me, and I got to figure out a jock strap for this or something for this. And because my dad was like in the field of hockey, one of his friends whose son was also playing cricket with me, he said, you know what? Go and buy this. You get this jock strap that hockey goalkeepers wear under their clothes, right? And then all you need to do is like pull your clothes out and put it into that jock strap. And so that was a funny that jock strap was really funny. So it just had a cup and then had two strings that went around your ass.
I don't understand why your ones were so complicated. I can tell you though, my first game, my first training session, I turned up and I was probably like 6 or 7, right? And I was starting off against hardball because that's what we used to do. There was no softball cricket in that day, right? So and my dad was the coach, and he said, do all this, and I went off, and then he gave me the box, and I was like, well, I'm not using this. I don't want to put it down my pants, so I didn't do it, and I went in the very first hardball cricket that I ever faced, got me right there without a box, and I'm on the ground crying. So I don't care how uncomfortable it was after then, man. I was all in for the rest of the time. We were going to talk about Shubman Gill's becoming the new Test captain, but that's all we have time for today is box talk. So thank you to everyone for coming in. Okay, Shubman Gill, captain of the team. We both like the idea of Jasprit Bumrah doing that. It sounds like Jasprit Bumrah wasn't as keen, and India, I think it was Ajay Agarkar basically sort of said, look, we were worried about him not playing every game and everything else. So we've already talked about that side of things. What do you think Shubman Gill is going to be like as captain?
So, I recently did an interview with Shubman in Sri Lanka. I think it was last year, July, right? And I know Shubman when he first came into the scene at KKR. We'd seen this young prodigy who had done really well in under 19 cricket, and then, was tout and then won the under 19 World Cup and was touted to be perhaps one of the next big things from Indian cricket. And then he came to KKR, and a very soft-spoken boy who was obsessed with batting. I think he's still obsessed with batting. He just does not stop batting. His life is just batting, 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 and only batting. He'd play at least 800 balls, I reckon, in every practice session. Like that's how long he bats. Like it just felt like for observers, like for me, I was just watching from the outside, like, man, this is a lot. But and then I realized he loves it, right? He enjoys it. And I've seen him from that stage to say 4-5 years down the line. This is 2018, and then I'm in 2024. But 6 years down the line, I got to spend a little bit more time with him in that interview, and I'm telling you, the evolution of him as a cricketer, as a human being, has been tremendous. I felt I was speaking to a 24-year-old, 23-year-old, but it genuinely felt like I was speaking to a 30-year-old man, because the maturity with which he spoke and the clarity with which he spoke about what he wants to do for Indian cricket, even when he was just a player, was tremendous. And this is after the 2023 World Cup, when India were in Sri Lanka playing the one day and the T20 series. So he was focused. He was very assured about what his goals and what he wanted to achieve for Indian cricket was. And I reckon even when I spoke to him, even during one of the IPL interviews the following year, it just felt like there was a lot of clarity about his own game, about how he wants to go about his batting and how he shifts from one format to the other. And I think for me, what's been most impressive is that evolution in not just as a cricketer but also as a human being. And if you've noticed, again, his evolution as a captain from last year to this year in the Tata IPL, it has been like chalk and cheese, Jar. If you look at his evolution, like last year he looked like a fish out of water. He seemed very unassured, and he felt like he was learning. He was, soaking up as much as he could. But this year, so assured with his calls, batting not impacted whatsoever, performing exceptionally well in the top 3 run getters in the IPL. The intensity that looks very similar to Virat Kohli when he led teams. The intensity is there, and you're just seeing that he's able to inspire performances in the way he's just navigating through leadership and captaincy. My hope for him is that he has a good, he gets time, one, to settle into that role of test captaincy, and two is that he leads with through evolution, inspiration, and inclusion. I truly hope that he's able to lead from that place. Captaincy on the field, tactics and his tactical approach on the field are also pretty good, and I think they will get a lot more nuanced as time goes by. And I think he's got the makings of a great captain. We just need, as Indians, we just need to be a little bit more giving as far as results are concerned, because he's leading a brand new side. It's not like he's got strong pillars there from the past. They're creating a new team with new power structures that will be formed over a period of time. The senior most player in this test squad as far as batters is concerned is KL Rahul, who till about a year and a half ago were like they were not contemplating, but there was a lot of conjecture about, does he fit into all three formats? Where do you fit him in the test squad? And today he finds himself to be the senior most player in that side. So there's going to be a lot of things that kind of it takes time to settle down, and I really hope that once they settle down, we can judge his captaincy after that.
Yeah, I mean, from a fan's perspective, it's going to be a very different road, right? Like you're losing two huge personalities, like people that we know really well, and we don't know Shubman Gill as well. He's been allowed to sort of be in the background, and there's still, I wouldn't say there's concerns over his spot in the side when it comes to batting, but he's still very third innings dominant as far as batting goes. He needs to make runs everywhere, and I have no doubt that he'll be able to make runs consistently. Even when he was failing, I was kind of saying, guys, he's good enough. Let's just give him a second. But not everyone will, because that's not how, modern cricket fandom works anymore, right? But also the personality thing is quite interesting, because he's going to be able to shape his brand a little bit. And his brand at the moment is being a very clean-cut sort of guy. Captaincy is different, right? Like they're going to, he's going to have to speak about controversial things. He's going to have to come out about other things. I would say that if I was being picky about his captaincy with Gujarat, there have been times this year where I just think he's got the bowling order wrong at crucial moments. And Saika Shaw not being bowled out when he's unplayable in some games. And sometimes, remember that one game where he didn't bowl Sai all the way through because there's a left-hander at the crease, and you're like, mate, he's your best bat at a certain point. Your best bowler this year other than Prashid Krishna. You just have to give him the ball. But he is better than last year, and I think that's fair. We can see a natural step up. He's also, let's be fair to them, coming into the season, I didn't have high hopes for Gujarat, and one of the reasons I didn't have high hopes is I thought the top three would be a bit slow, right? Now, Butler obviously went back to being great, so that helped. But the other two guys have managed to bat the same way they always do and a little bit quicker, and they've built their side around that top three. That's what he believes in, right? And he's actually made it work. So there are some good things, I think, to be seen from that. But it's a fascinating one coming ahead, just because I'm trying to think of when was the last time we saw this much sort of, I don't know, personality is the right way of putting it, but brand awareness, like everyone in India knows Virat and Rohit, right? Like even the non-cricket fans know who they are. Not everyone in India knows Shubman Gill, and certainly not in that sort of close, obsessive thing. And, I can't think of another time, I remember when Warne and McGrath went, it's similar to Warne and McGrath, but Warne and McGrath weren't the captains, right? So the leadership was more or less the same. It's just that you lost two huge personalities at the same time. Australian cricket has had it a couple of times. I had the Lilly, Marsh, and Chappell all retiring at the same time. It's not that common that you go bang bang and two guys disappear with 1,500 test runs and former captains and everything else. And if
15,000, you mean?
Hey,
15,000, you mean?
Yeah, 15,000 runs. 1,500 runs might have taken him a couple of years, the way that those two have been batting recently. But that's a joke for another time. But but you look at that, and you think about him having to come into that, And it's not like we're not talking about like a Graham Smith type of leader, are we? Like we're not talking about someone who we could see from who's ready to speak on the big stage and everything else. And there's that great story about Graham Smith when he was outside the South African team and he challenged Sean Pollock to a game and started screaming at Sean Pollock on the ground, despite the fact that Sean Pollock was the captain and Graham Smith wasn't. Right? Like Smith was one of those people who was always thinking about that. Shubman Gill is a different kind of person, and he's going to have to deal with all of the challenges, right? That comes with being a captain in real time without Pujara, Rahane, Kohli, and Rohit. That's a lot of leadership being taken out of that. And as you said, KL Rahul, who's been, Ashwin. Oh, I forgot Ashwin as well. That's just, it feels like to me just one of the biggest drains in a short period of time that we've seen in Test cricket.
Okay, 2 points. One, the Graham Smith thing. Like, to be very honest, the narrative of Graham Smith, people outside of perhaps South Africa or the inner circles of cricket probably didn't know. We saw how great Graham Smith was, or the leader that he was, or the captain that he was, after the results of it, right? And so for me, in that vein, I feel like this is in the same kind of category because nobody really knows nobody on the outside knows what he can really deliver as a leader. And how much he can kind of lead a side and inspire a side to performances, right? And how much he can put himself on the line a lot, like Biff did. So I think it's a matter of time, and I think over a period of time we'll actually see it if he's actually worth his salt as a leader, because we know he's worth the salt, and then some as a batter. Now, even with his performances in, say, the 2023 Cricket World Cup. It was top-notch performances from him. I think barring the final, because he did really well, and you could see that sense of ownership where he was like, I want to take on the baton from Virat, and he was kind of pegged the prince of Indian cricket after King Kohli. So now he kind of finds himself in that place where the transitions happen and everything kind of comes down to him. And he'll have to kind of figure out who are the people who are going to help him lead this side outside of the coach, right? With Gautam Gambhir is certainly one of them. The two of them will lead the side. But who are the other people? KL Rahul could be one. Jasprit Bumrah certainly could be one. Ravindra Jadeja certainly could be one. And so he'll have to find that leadership core group around which he'll have to build this test squad over the next couple of years in this cycle.
Also, it changes the power dynamics, right? Because Gambhir came into a side where there were older, big voices who had the say. And now, for the first time, I can't even remember since the last time this would be the case, but the first time in a long time, at the moment, the most important power person within that is the coach, not the captain. Now, that might not be the case in a year's time once Shubman's been in the job, because these things wax and wane, right? But right at the moment, that's a big power shift. And it's not all that common, and so the players are going to have, the players who've been there for a little while, like Jadeja, like Bumrah, are going to have to deal with the fact that the coach is going to have an outsized say. Whereas beforehand, I'm not saying that Kumble and Shastri and Rahul Dravid didn't have a say, but they weren't the most powerful voices in the room. The coach might be the most powerful voice in the room over the next little while.
Well, yeah, I think it in a sense, knowing these people a little closely, I get the sense that they will really complement each other as leaders, as coach and captain, because Gotti does really well with younger players. There's a sense of confidence and there's a sense of trust that he exercises with youngsters that makes them really really builds that bond between Gotti and the youngster. And I've seen that happen multiple times. Today, the kind of chemistry that he shares perhaps with the T20I captain, Surya Kumar Yadav, with Sky, is something that was formed like in 2014 to 2017 till Gotti was there in KKR. And they, so much so that Gotti made, Surya the vice captain of KKR, and, that was the level of, the bond that they had, and the camaraderie and the confidence that he had in someone like Surya. And he saw things perhaps about Surya that a lot of us didn't recognize before. And so I think Gotti does really well with younger players, and he really backs them. And I think they will build a great chemistry over a period of time. We'll have to wait and watch, of course, but we'll have to kind of. I think the fact that they're actually the first tour is to England, which is literally a test by fire as far as Test cricket is concerned, and for for them, for him as a batter, for him as a captain, for the Indian team as well. Um, I think this one's going to be, and in a way, I'm happy that it's going to be this hard because Test cricket doesn't get harder than for a visiting team in England, especially if these conditions are favorable to the English and
Which
the
they
English
won't be.
media, and yeah.
I cannot emphasize how dry it is in the UK this year.
Is it?
It's a really good time for India to come over. Like, and that might not mean anything, and you might get a bit of dampness, but everything is so dry over here at the moment. So it's not having a look at Sikandar Raza bowled 24 overs on the first day of the Test match the other day. Part of that was because they had an injured bowler, and part of that was because their seamers were spraying it everywhere. But
yeah.
Shoaib Bashir bowled a lot of overs as well, took a lot of wickets. Like, at the moment, it's not a bad time to come over and play Test cricket if you're an Asian nation in the UK.
It's a funny thing,
Still months to go.
It's a funny thing, hasn't the weather everywhere around the world has been like quite accentuated. Like, I'm in Mumbai, and like the Mumbai monsoons have hit, and boy, yesterday there was a yellow alert, man, and the thunder and lightning through the night was mad. It was just raining, like pelting down, like for 7-8 hours, like from like 6 o'clock in the morning till I left the hotel for work, till about 1-2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think everywhere in the world, the weather.
I think there was was it Canada or Oman were playing in Florida the other day, and the game was abandoned because of lightning and thunderstorms. And I'm not even sure it was raining because I was watching the feed. The feed was still open, and I was like, "Why have they stopped playing?" There was nothing came up on the screen for a while because there was no covers on. And I was like, "Are they being attacked by bees or what's happening here?" And it turned out that there was a thunderstorm coming in. So weather's not ideal. I had India as slight favourite in the series. Mohammad Shami's not playing, and I think either I have England as slight favourites now, or it's pretty even. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think given the youth within the squad, and given the I think the fact that the stalwarts are not playing and they've all retired, and India rebuilding a squad, I would say a slight advantage to England at this point in time. To be very honest, but I think given the conditions there, and given the kind of exciting youngsters that are there, if they can really come to the fore, then I think my mind will be changed very, very quickly after the first Test match.
I wasn't that impressed by England's bowling, but I'm just having a look now. Chris Woakes made his comeback, and he's been out of the game for quite a while now. And a little birdie told me that they thought he might not even play a Test this year. And then about an hour later, he had 3 for. So he took 3 for in both innings in I think it's his comeback game. Certainly the game where he's bowled the most of recent times. Yeah, because his last game was in the SA20. So he hasn't played since the SA20. Comes back, takes 3 for 34, 3 for 53. I think if he can play, that makes a lot of difference because like watching this bowling attack this week, like Sam Cook, first Test, I'm not too worried about him overall. Atkinson still just seems down on pace for me and is not. When Atkinson was at his best, he was bowling at 90 miles an hour and he looked like unwritten Nokia, but not quite as fast. At the moment, he looks more like, I'm trying to think. He just doesn't move the ball that much and he's not that quick. Josh Tongue, they keep trying to make Josh Tongue bowl bounces, and I'm not sure Josh Tongue knows how to bowl 6 bounces in a row. So it's not a natural thing for him to do. So this, Ben Stokes was probably their best seamer in that game, right? Now, Oh my God, have you seen Ben? I know we've talked a lot about penises already today, but have you seen Ben Stokes' body? It's so dramatically changed. The first time Ben Stokes' body, because he stopped drinking alcohol, but what he's done is he's tried to just slim himself down so he doesn't put as much pressure on his knee joints anymore, right? Which is something that Andre Russell probably should have done as well, which is when you've got no cartilage left in your knee, you just keep banging. The heavier you are, the more you bang. Yeah. And so he's changed his body so much so that he walked past me at one stage, and I looked around to see who the new player was. Like, I thought like it was someone else because he's got the.
Do we have a picture? Do we have a picture?
We might need Rakshit to see if he can see.
Rakshit, can you throw a picture up? It would be awesome.
Rakshit even in the group. Rakshit might have gone to the pub. But yeah, so he's slimmed down, and like his body's a lot more V-shaped now. The only thing that he's got more of is hair. And I'm sure he can thank artificial means for the hair coming back. But everything else is done on his own. But
it's not artificial. Listen, I've
it is
been
artificial.
There, okay, it's hard work. Okay, it's hard work. Don't do like just because you have nice hair and you've got good genes from your grandfather or father. Don't take it out on us. Like it's hard work. You try living under a helmet for 20 years and keeping most of your hair.
Where is yours? Butt hair, leg hair, back hair? Where did they get your hair from?
No, it's hair from the back of my head itself. I've just moved it around. That's all.
I think with his it's back hair. I was told.
You can take it from anywhere. It's still hair. It's your hair.
Yeah, I do know players have taken butt hair before. By the way, it is a funny thing in cricket that we do have. It's such a thing, and there's that
butt hair I've never heard of. Yeah, this is either some drunken story in some old English pub that you guys have heard.
Hey,
this is not real.
If an old English cricketer tells me that they've got butt hair on their head, you can imagine how much more I'm listening. To get back to the point of the story is, if Ben Stokes can bowl properly, that really changes the England side quite a lot. And I thought he bowled really well in this Test match. So again, that's a little bump towards England. Just makes their bowling unit just look a lot more whole, right?
See, they're not going to bowl Ben Stokes too much. They got to manage his workload as well. You don't want to lose out on Ben Stokes, the batter, just because you're over bowling him, right? So I think they will use him carefully. I think you won't see him bowl more than 10, 15 overs in a day. I think 10 overs perhaps in a day. And I don't think more than 25 overs in a Test match. I don't see that happening.
You're probably right, and I don't think he is. Generally, he bowls under 25. I think he averages around 22, 23 overs. But I thought it was really interesting. They gave him the new ball. Look at his face. His face is like half the size.
Yeah, he's lost a lot of weight. Yeah.
They gave him the new ball. Not the new ball. He bowled straight after stumps in the morning session. I'll get this out eventually, Robbie, on day 3. I thought that was a really interesting one because generally they give him the ball when nothing's happening. And to give him the ball at the start of play was a different move. They wouldn't have done that a year ago when he was struggling with his knees. So they are thinking about him very, very differently. So anyway, I think that changes England's side a little bit, but I still have major concerns with England's bowling all the way through their team.
Do you? And their spinners now, you think Bashir is the one who will play?
He'll definitely play. He'll definitely start the series, Robbie. I don't know if he'll be there at the end. He bowled.
Especially
he took wickets. He did take wickets in this Test. But my God, he's gone from bowling a lot of short balls to bowling a lot of full tosses. And Zimbabwe punished him. They've got some good players of spin because Zimbabwean wickets spin as well. They punished him. It was just that when he bowls a good ball, it's world class. Like he bowled a ball at one stage, it just pitched on leg and ripped across and bounced. His best ball is world class. His worst ball is slightly better than my worst ball, but his best ball is as good as anyone's. So you're always, I just think you're it's a roulette using him at any times because he doesn't have the mechanics to be consistent with the way he bowls.
What about that other kid there? That what's his name? Leg spinner.
Rehan Ahmed. So he made 100, I think, last week.
They don't use him very much, do they?
His bowling's not consistent. I mean, he's probably a batter who bowls. I don't want to say he's going to end up being like Steve Smith or Shivnarine Chandrapal, but
no. But you think about it, like even when Stuart McGill came into the scene, his bowling wasn't consistent, but he had a world-class good delivery. And then the more he played, the more time he spent in playing Test cricket, the better he got. And he got really good after a certain point in time for a short period before Shane Warne came back in.
I think the difference
I think it's about
Stuart McGill's best ball though spun sideways, and Rehan's best ball is the wrong one that fades it back in. He gets nice overspin, which is handy, but I don't know if he has that ability. And the other thing is that what McGill would do is bowl 5 pretty good leg spinners and then a long hop. Whereas Rehan bowls 3 balls in a row that are a bit too short or a little bit overpitched. Do you know what I mean? So it's a different kind of inconsistent. They still like him, And I'm pretty sure he made 100 the other day. So he's still there and thereabouts. Should we talk about the rest of the Indian squad? You wanted to talk about someone very interesting, actually, Eastwarren.
Yeah, I want to talk about Eashwaran, and but Eashwaran, someone scored like tons of runs in domestic cricket. Has led India A for the last 5 or 7 years right now. For as long as I can remember, he's the kid who's been leading the India A side. He's been vying for a spot since he's 22 or 23. I think he's 29 or 30 now, and he still hasn't gotten a look in. One's hoping that he can get an opportunity here, but instead of whom? Because there's such strong narratives for a lot of the other players, but here's this kid who kind of flies under the radar, but still keeps performing and does not get that look in into that 11, so to speak. So, and he's also the captain of the India A side going there. Your thoughts about him from the outside? We know the Indian perspective, but for just to understand what you all think about, or what do you even think about an Abhimanyu Eashwaran?
No, I do, because he was tipped to play in Australia, so I remember doing some work on him around that time. What I found, and I'd be interested to know how you think about this, when he plays for Bengal, he averages basically 50, right?
Yeah.
When playing for India A, and he's played 28 games for India A now, as you said, he's been the captain, he's been around, he averages 39, right? But it's with 600s and 550s. So weirdly enough, when he's got in those games, I think he's got a double hundred against Sri Lanka. He got back-to-back hundreds against England and Sri Lanka. He got back-to-back hundreds against Bangladesh in this. But it hasn't transferred over in the same way that you might have wanted it when he gets to the A level at the moment. So that would be my question, because he's not young. As you said, he's coming in as a sort of more a replacement level player, right? Like, you want him to come in and just do the job straight away, because otherwise you're not going to pick someone who's 28, 29, 30. That's not the way the selectors work. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's not how they work. And you look at his record, and there's some question marks. He also made his last 6 A games. He hasn't made as many runs. I'm just trying to have a look at what I can see by country.
When were they, those last 6 A games?
He played them. He played 1 in 2023, and he's played 5 last year, and just struggled in. I think he's got 150 in those last 6 games. Before that, he was actually doing better.
Where were those games?
Let's have a look. 2024. 2024, they would have been. That was in Ahmedabad, Mackay, and Melbourne. So, he's had a couple of games in India. Mackay, I don't even know what the wickets are like in Mackay, man. It's northern Queensland. I know some of the grounds in northern Queensland. I know Townsville. I didn't even know they played A games in Mackay.
In Townsville? Townsville is a nice ground.
Yeah. They've got ground in Cairns as well, don't they? And Townsville.
Cairns is nice, bro. Beautiful ground.
I'm going to get this wrong, and Queensland is going to get so upset. But I think Townsville is south and Cairns is north. So Mackay would be somewhere in the middle.
Cairns is north. Yeah, Cairns is north. And
Cairns
such a beautiful place, huh? Cairns.
Yeah,
such a
very hot
place.
and sweaty up there. I'm just having a look at the game.
It's humid. I'll give you that.
107. They were bowled out for 107 India A, and then Australia A made 195. So maybe that wicket was we can give him a break on that. That's a club wicket probably that he's not used to top level bowlers being on it. But
again, but the human side of it as well, right? You've been knocking on those doors for so long. It's gonna take an emotional toll on you as well, and you're just gonna feel defeated at some point, even though you're there, right? And those are the kind of finer aspects that when you're looking at stats, they don't tell you that story,
No, but also there's a real thing, which is the Graham Hick effect, right? If you don't get tested at a young enough age, sometimes what happens is you get into sort of bad habits, and so when you get to international cricket, you're batting for first class cricket rather than for test cricket, and so you get exposed early on. I'm just having a look at his record here. Last 3 years in. Oh, look at this.
We're throwing up the stats.
We're going around throwing up the stats. Last 3 years in first class cricket, he's averaged 63, 52, and 64. So overall form, definitely not an issue. But there are some question marks there. But as you said, a lot of it is just about you need to be exposed to better bowlers I don't want to name drop here. It's weird to name drop on a podcast you're on as well. But I remember Raul Dravid saying to me, there's like a hinge point when it comes to facing 90-mile-an-hour bowlers and faster bowlers, and also playing in international cricket, where if you put the person up too early, you can ruin the player because they're not ready for that. And if you put them up too late, they've missed it. Like some people have a longer window and some people have a very short window where you have to get it right.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, I think with Abhi, in Abhi's case, we're not in the first window, we're at the second window right now. And like he needs to get a look in. He's played 101 first class matches already. He's averaging close to 50, 2700s, 2950. So there's a great conversion rate as well. So if he gets a 50, then you know that he kind of sets himself up to probably get a bigger score than that, like to go on and get 100. And he's got the ability to score big hundreds as well. So you'll never know if he's actually worth his salt at the highest level of cricket unless you play him there. And he's warranted, like he warrants the side just on the back of these numbers.
Just on his highest score there, the 233, that's against Sri Lanka as well, playing for India, right? So his top score was when he went to the higher level, which is always a good sign. Yeah. Those are little things that you're looking for when you're looking for a player. Anyway, what's the batting order, Robbie?
My batting order. I
didn't say your batting order. I said, what? What's your batting order, Robbie?
My batting order. Listen, we're discussing this, so it's my batting order right now. So my batting order goes this way. But I have two versions. So it's with slight variations. It's predominantly the same side. So my openers, option number one is Yashasvi Jaiswal, KL Rahul, Sai Sudarshan number 3, Shubman Gill number 4, Karun Nair number 5, Rishabh Pant number 6, Nitish Kumar Reddy number 7, Ravindra Jadeja number 8, Bumrah, Prasidh Krishna, and Mohammad Siraj, 9, 10, 11. That's one. The other one is a slight variation where either it's Abhimanyu Eashwaran opening the batting and KL Rahul at number 3. Simply because KL Rahul is your best batter at the moment as far as numbers and experience is concerned. And then thinking about the fact that Sai Sudarshan got his runs when he played in England down at number 6. He in fact got his 100 in England when he was batting at number 6. I would use him perhaps as my number 5 option in case Karun Nair does not do very, very well there. But I think this is what they'll start with.
Yeah. Do we think that Gill wants to open the batting still when he used to talk about wanting to? He's moved on from that emotionally.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I think
that's
he wants
easy
to bat
because he goes to 4. Yeah. So that's fine. Is it not better to have Sudarshan opening the batting with Jaiswal and roll at first drop then?
Yeah, that's fine as well. But if again, you got to look at where Sai's gotten his runs. If he can, Rakshit, if he can help us just put up, if we know where in first class cricket, he doesn't average great, so to speak. He's close to 40 in first class cricket. I don't know where he bats in first class cricket. I don't know if he opens the batting or if he bats slightly down the order. It'd be interesting to see where he actually bats at first class cricket. If he can find that out, it'll be great. But I think you can open with him, but I'd rather send him at number 3 or 5 if KL Rahul's opening the batting. But I think KL Rahul at number 3 and Shubman at 4 augurs well for the Indian side. And then that perhaps gives you an opportunity to develop, say, an Eashwaran and gives him an opportunity, or Sai Sudarshan at the top.
So he's played 29 first-class games. In fact, he's played 29 first-class games. He has opened in 21 of them.
Yeah.
So he averages around low 40s when he opens the batting. He actually averages a lot less in every other position. So he's batted at number 3 in 5 games. He's batting at number 4 a couple of times and batted at number 6 probably when he was... I was going to say when he was young, but it was last year. So I don't know why he was batting at number 6 last year. Yeah, I think I'd be tempted if he's going to play for him to open. But I like the idea of having... Because I like the idea of having KL Rahul and Shubman Gill next to each other with the more experienced comeback kid in Karun Nair further down at number 5. Like I like that.
Yeah.
That experience. You got Jaiswal at the top, who hopefully explodes. If Sai Sudarshan can continue the way he's going, he shouldn't be overawed or anything. I like that kind of 5. And what'd you have? You had Rishabh Pant at 6.
At 6.
Jadeja at 7. And who'd you have at 8? Who's your
Nitish Kumar Reddy. So that's your 4th fast bowler.
I don't know.
What happened?
I don't know should they not just go with frontline bowlers and not pick up part-time bowler at 8?
He's not a part-time bowler. I think he's bowled really well in Australia as well. And
yeah, but he bowled like a part-time.
You want an all-rounder. Yeah, but you want an all-rounder, right? You want someone who can bowl you.
Jadeja's your all-rounder.
Yeah, but and so what would you rather have there?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure you need a world-class batter at number 8 who's not going to give you that much with the ball, right? Like,
all right. So Jadeja at 6, Jadeja at 7, and then Nitish at 8 doesn't make a difference. It's as in for me, I think it makes the.
No, but what I'm saying is, what's the point in not picking another specialist bowler at number? Then you've got Jadeja and 4 frontline seamers. I know you're weak at number 8, but you're going to bowl England out in a lot of games.
So who's your 4th frontline seamer?
So who did you pick? You had Bumrah, Prashid Krishna. Who was your other seamer? I've lost it off the list.
Siraj.
Siraj. So I would be going with. I'm just looking at the squad. So I'd probably have. If it looks like it's going to swing, I suppose you go Arshdeep, and if it's not going to swing, you go Akashdeep.
Yeah, Akashdeep. If Akashdeep is not swinging the ball, then there's going to be problems for him and for the Indian side. Then there needs to be something off the wicket, because we saw like he was really good in Australia with the new and the semi-new ball, but he was very unlucky. You got to give that to Akash. He was extremely unlucky. He should have gotten a lot more wickets than he actually got there, and he bowled really well. And if you're saying England is going to be as dry as you are saying it is, then I don't know how much purchase he'll get. Because that's the thing about England. If the conditions are favorable, you can get so much as a fast bowler. And if they're not, God help those guys.
It's been interesting, actually. So I don't know if you've seen any of the scores coming out of Edgbaston or Old Trafford, but there's been some flat wickets, like comically flat wickets in some of those games. The Trent Bridge game the other day, the ball kept moving. If Zimbabwe had just put it in the one spot for more than 5 minutes at a time, all the way through their innings, the ball kept moving, and England kept getting little bits of movement as well. But it wasn't. So the Duke's ball is still moving, but the wickets aren't giving you as much back. So there is still something there. If Jadeja can be the proper 4th bowler, which considering the way the wickets are, looks realistic. It does give them a lot more flexibility. Whereas sometimes when Jadeja is playing in the UK, he's not of much use until the 3rd or 4th innings, right?
Well, see, again, my thing is, I think if you're only going to go with 3, if you're going to go with 3 fast bowlers, and again, you got to take care of Bumrah as well. So you need a 4th option there, whether it's Shardul Thakur or I wouldn't want to play Arshdeep and Bumrah at the same time, because I love Arshdeep as a fast bowler, and I really value him and value what he's done for Indian cricket so far. And I think you really need to take care of his workload. He's already your leading frontline bowler in white ball cricket. He's spearheading the white ball cricket as a fast bowler, and you don't want to give him that load, because he will be. I'm telling you, he will be a beauty with the red ball. Because if he's doing what he's doing with that crap Kookaburra white ball, you can tell what he is capable of doing with a Duke's red ball. And I think he'll be more than a handful. And I think if push comes to shove and they have to play both of them at the same time because it's going to help them win the series, then by all means they will do it, and they should do it. But I don't think they should be playing simultaneously, because it's gonna take a load on him, and I'm concerned about his longevity, especially as a fast bowler. He's what, 28, 27, 28?
He must be a bit older now.
25 maybe.
No, actually, yeah, he might be younger. Yeah, he's been around for a while, but don't forget, I think when we first saw him, he was a teenager, wasn't he? Yeah, he's 26.
Yeah. So if you want him to play till 35, then you really need to manage his workload and not kind of overload him. You know what England did with Jofra. Because there was nothing wrong with Jofra as a fast bowler. He was great. But they just abused him as a fast bowler, right? They made him bowl short balls over and over and over and
I
over
think
again
50
in test
was it
matches.
55 overs on a flat wicket in New Zealand was the one
Yeah,
that
and then you were
decided
asked
it.
to bowl short, like they actually broke him as a fast bowler.
I do
You
think
know,
this
and
though. Arshdeep hasn't played a test match yet.
yeah,
It's kind of silly for him not to play, like to be on this in England and not start in England, right? Like it's the same as, I'm not just saying if it was in England, if he was in New Zealand, I'd say the same thing. It's like if you have a swing bowler, this is the time to use your swing bowler, right? So I think they have to be smart with the way they do that. I think
correct.
Akashdeep's fine. I'm with you. I just think he was unlucky. You look at the control percentages in those test matches. He should have got more wickets than he got, right?
He should have. Yeah,
You know, and Siraj is the swingman here because
he is.
when Siraj
the
is
guy
at his
who's gonna.
absolute best, when he's the third best seamer, not the second best seamer.
Yeah, but he will have to take that mantle on as a second best seamer because Bumrah right now, I'm surprised how he's had only that one major injury with that action. He should have had like 10, but knock on wood, it's only been one. But I really think you need someone to step up there, whether it's Prasidh or whether it's Siraj is there for the taking right now. And I think they need to take the ownership up. One of them put their hand up and say, okay, I want to be the leading frontline bowler in Test cricket after Bumrah. And if Bumrah is not there, which he's not going to be there for a couple of Test matches, perhaps in this, just to manage his workload and for longevity's sake, then one of these two will have to spearhead that attack, and they need to do well, and they need to step up to the plate. And I think with Siraj, it's about not trying to overdo things. I think it's about staying within those lines of this is where my sweet spot is, and this is what brings out my best performance, and I need to stay within this range and consciously staying within that range with a lot of self-awareness. And that's all he needs to do, because he can get excited. And there are times he gets excited and he brings the best out of himself, but there needs to be someone to manage that for him, right? And
I just
from the
don't
outside,
think he understands his bowling at the level that he can repeat it every single time he needs to. And Stuart Broad was like that, right? Like, and both of those guys, like Stuart Broad was a batter when he was younger. So he became a fast bowler when he was like 18, 19. And Siraj was bowling with a rubber ball, tape ball for a long period, and then comes in. And I think those guys really struggle. Whereas I think if in 10 years' time, if one of us threw the ball to Jimmy Anderson, he would come in with his technique perfect, and he would get the same amount of, purchase on the ball, not purchase on the ball, but the same action going through the ball. I think that's harder for someone like Siraj. And it may never happen. I've seen bowlers like that their entire career. They can't tell you why one day they run up and it's perfect, and one day they run up when it's not. The difference between Siraj and Broad is Broad was good enough on the bad days to just pull it back and bowl back of the length because he's massively tall, right? And Siraj doesn't seem to have that backup plan to just be like, today's what I bowl the next two spells for bowling dry, make sure I don't go for any runs, keep the pressure on, and hopefully the guy at the other end can break through. So that's kind of what he needs to find. But that's easy for me to say. Like, he's a senior player and he hasn't worked out how to do it. And you look at his IPL numbers, it's like great one year, terrible the next. That's what he's always like in every different competition.
Yeah, and that's happened in this IPL as well. He started off beautifully, where he just tried to do the right things, just hit the right areas, not try to overswing the ball, not try to swing it from leg stump like he's tried to do in the past. He's just trying to hit top of off and trying to hit the seam as often as possible, and that's worked for him. And then suddenly he's just gone away from it in the back end of this IPL right now, and which is why I feel that they're not able to get the starts with the new ball. And and then people are just seeing Prasidh Krishna off and taking on other bowlers. For example, Sai Kishore in the last couple of games has just gone off the boil. Rashid Khan's form has not been the best. So teams are suddenly scoring 230 against them consistently over the last couple of games. And I think they've lost a lot of momentum. And they've got a taste of what happens to them if that top three does like falters to perform.
I want to move on to the Zimbabwe test. Did you watch Zimbabwe England at all? Did you miss that one?
Just been busy with the IPL, man.
No.
So I've actually just seen the scores. I know that Engarava got injured, and so they didn't have him to bowl, and that's a big loss in the start of a test match. And then you're just going to be behind the 8 ball.
It's worse because he was also he bowled 2 spells and he didn't bowl well, right? So he probably would have settled into the game by the 3rd or 4th spell, and by that stage his back was gone and he was off the field. So not only he got them off to a bad start, and then he had to leave the field. And he's such a good bowler, so it's a real shame for him that it didn't quite work. Brian Bennett's really interesting. If you get a chance to go and have a look at him, he's I don't. Have you played against him in any of the T10 leagues yet? Because I know he's
I
played a little bit of T10
probably
cricket.
would have. I probably would have. I don't know. I can't remember.
He's a fascinating cricketer. He just likes to give himself room and just smash the ball away on the offside. So he made the big 100. He's 21. That was really good. They also had a guy called Victor Niucci playing for them, who is a new ball
Victor,
bowler.
I've played with.
Yeah, and they massacred him, man. I know you and I are quite
He's
obsessed
young,
with.
though, right?
I think he's older
Victor's
than
young.
he looks. I think
He
he's
looks,
about 30.
really?
Yeah.
Is
So
he?
he was playing. He's the new ball bowler. So they obviously had Blessing and then Garava. So that takes care of the new ball. Then at first change, they brought on a guy called Chavanga, who's quite quick but all over the shop. And then they brought the two opening bowlers back on again. And Victor Nucci is a new ball bowler, and he doesn't bowl until the 22nd over. And it's just like, you just watch, he just looked like a shell of himself by the time he finally got the ball in his hand. And he was so nervous that when he took off his shirt to start, he took off his jumper. Sorry, he accidentally took off his whole shirt and then started walking back to the mark with his skins on, right? Before he realized what was happening, he just looked so nervous, and he just sprayed everything down the leg side. And it's one of those things that you and I talk about a lot, of which, if you don't treat a player the way they're used to being treated, and you put them in a pressure environment, things can go. And he just snapped. And it just didn't work. I don't think I've ever seen a test match bowler bowl as many half volleys down the leg side as he bowled in that game. Now, he bowls in swing, so he's fading in that direction. But he was bowling, some of them, man, were test match wides, right? And Ollie Pope hit 1 for 6. And I don't know how Ollie Pope reached it. It was that far down the leg side. It was really sad to watch him do that. But Zimbabwe, weirdly, as a team who's really good at bowling and not so good at batting, batted really well in this test and didn't bowl very well. So they pulled it back eventually, the game, but they were obviously they were out of it once the opening partnership happened. Once they because that's when they're at their best, right? That's when Blessing is hitting the seam and then Garava's swinging it. Once they didn't get early wickets, it was just over for them. But good on them. But I'll tell you this, man, it was a great environment. So day one was like the English crowd, and I was like, okay, fair enough. By day 3, I swear it felt like a Zimbabwe home game. Zimbabweans were coming in from everywhere, man. Like, it was just, I didn't realize there were that many Zimbabweans in Europe, let alone in the UK. And they were taking entire pockets. They sing, they dance. And then the players at the end of the game went into the stands with the fans. It was just a beautiful thing to watch. And it felt like Zimbabwean cricket, after all this time, is just starting to reach a good period of growth. Ed Rainsford, I was commentating with him on TalkSport all week, and he was saying that for the first time, maybe ever, the management, the Zimbabwe cricket is actually being run correctly. People seemed happy to be playing for them. Sekunda Raza came back from the PSL to play. Like, there were so many nice things going on. And it was great that they got a 21-year-old to make 100, and some of the old stagers made some runs again in the second innings as well. It was a beautiful moment.
Yeah, it was actually. I think the fact that Sikandar came back for that game tells you that things are moving in a positive direction as far as Zimbabwean cricket is concerned, and you want it to move. For Zimbabwe, the people, just the cricketers as well, such wonderful people, such nice people. Like I don't know, I always love going to Zimbabwe because just the warmth that you experience from the people, the players, and the atmosphere there, and it's a beautiful country as well. It's rebuilding as a country, but still the warmth that you experience there is phenomenal, and the weather is amazing. And I love going to Zimbabwe, and I truly hope good things happen to Zimbabwean cricket over the next few years.
No, definitely, I'm 100% with you. Yeah. And also, just on a cricket note, they're probably the best sort of cricket group. Do you know what I mean? As in cricket fan group. Because
the cricket fans are insane, dude. They're amazing. I love them. They're just so much
they're
fun.
Always enjoying themselves, right? Like, it's like they just it's really hard to explain, but there's not as much. It doesn't feel like it's not that they don't moan when their team's playing poorly, because they do, but they just feel to enjoy it even when it's going poorly. And I think most fan groups don't do that, right? And you saw that this week. There's something about it. We saw it in the 2023 to World Cup when they're traveling around Australia following their team. They're a different breed of cricket fans, right? They're almost
They really kind of come there and then make us experience their culture of what a fun-loving group they are.
Yeah.
Right. The result of the sport doesn't really matter, but we're here. We want to make sure everybody has a great time. It's a capsule of what that country is. During the course of a game, it's a little capsule of an experience of what that country is, and just the people of that country. It's amazing. That I love Zimbabwe and the people of Zimbabwe. It's nice. They're really cool.
So, Ollie Pope made a big score, and Ben Stokes at the press conference, I think it was when he was talking to Sky straight after the game, said something that I want to run past you because this is quite interesting. He basically said that there was a vendetta against Ollie Pope from the press, right? And then, of course, Stokes forgot that you do 2 press conferences. For those who don't really understand what happens, you do one on the ground with the broadcaster, and then you have to go into the media and actually do the proper one, right? So the one with the broadcaster goes out, and in that one, he used the word vendetta. And I think by the time he got to the other one, someone said, "Do you really think the press has a vendetta against Ollie Pope?" He went, "Vendetta's the wrong word, everyone. What I meant was agenda against him." Which is still sort of the same thing. It's just not quite as violent, right? Like it's still the same thing. And it's really interesting. I'm an outsider in English media in that I don't cover every English game, right? Like I don't do all the tours, and I don't write for any English publication. Well, actually, I write for the Cricketer magazine, but I don't, I'm not an English writer, and I've never been a beat writer for England, but I've also lived in London and covered cricket for a long time. So I cover a lot more English cricket than I do other things. I guess there are times when the English cricket media probably do have an agenda or a vendetta against players. The most famous one would be KP. And I was in the middle of all that, and I was then, I swear, Robbie, I did an article once where I said KP's probably a bit of a dick, right, in my article. And I got introduced on the BBC, right, as a KP apologist. And I was like, I've just written an article calling him a dick. Like, that's how violent, how vicious everyone else was. That was a time when I really felt an agenda against someone. But generally what happens with English media, and it happens in India and Australia as well, and it happens in some of the smaller countries where you have multiple newspapers. Cricket, especially in Test cricket, the final 11 is final, right? So if you don't play well, you don't play well for 5 days. There's no, he didn't play well, so we brought a sub in, and then we'll bring him back next time. Or maybe next time we won't start him in the game. We'll bring him off the bench and we'll try everything out. So you end up for 5 days talking about this person. And then it might be 4-match series or a 3-match series. So if someone's in bad form, the media naturally talks more negative about the person who's on their way out. And Lawrence Booth, who's the editor of Wisdom, once said to me, if you look at most cricket media, it's actually just people being fixated on who's going to get dropped next. And he was sort of saying that they don't talk about the game enough. And I was sort of saying, I agree, but I also think it comes from this weird thing where this player, someone like Sam Cook in his last Test match, doesn't bowl particularly well. You then have 2 days of him not bowling particularly well, right? There's no way that the English media has a vendetta or an agenda against Ollie Pope, because Ollie Pope's just not that kind of guy. Like there's no reason that he's gone that way. But on your side, I'm going to die here. On your side of things, right? Players do feel that, right? And they feel it very, very, passionately that the media or whatever have a go at them. And they don't, it's not until they quite often retire that they start to see how media works. And they understand the mechanics of it, and they start to go, he didn't have an agenda against that guy. He just wasn't making as many runs as he should have. And so they were questioning his place. But because of the structure of cricket media, they kept doing the same thing over and over again. And don't get me wrong, cricket media should be better, right? But you would have felt that quite a bit at times, that it was this overall like vendetta or agenda against you or against other players, right? And there are occasions when that's true. And we both know that there are occasions when that's true. But more often, that's not the issue, is it? It's just that the person isn't making runs, and then the pressure sort of folds in on them.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And I think I can tell you from experience that there was a lot of times that I thought some commentators had an agenda against me or didn't like me and said stuff, right? For me, they were like, it's after I become a broadcaster, I realized, hey, they're just doing their job, right? Yep. And at that point in time, I probably was, could have been doing better than I was doing at that point in time. And they probably are being critical from a constructive point of view more than a destructive or a negative point of view, right? But it's just that you're so close to your own performances and everything else that's going on at that point in time, that you're not able to perceive things from that point of view. There were a lot of people that I really misunderstood before I became a broadcaster myself. And one of the things I think I learned along the way, as I've been broadcasting for 6 years, and I've learned along the way right now is that, hey, okay, what kind of a broadcaster do you want to be? There are different types of broadcasters. And so what kind of a journalist do you want to be? Do you want to be a journalist who's analytical? Do you want to be a broadcaster whose constructive criticism is what they want their thing to be? And there are some broadcasters who say that I want to be the bad guy. Because in this whole scheme of things, I want to be the bad guy, right? I don't mind the negative press, but I want to be the bad
Michael
guy.
Vaughan says hi.
So there are people who choose the narratives, right? And you can choose a narrative that suits your personality, that suits just the way you are. And some people just say, I just want to be entertaining, right? I want to be entertaining to the people watching cricket on not a very deep level, right? And then there could be guys who say, no, I want to be really analytical, and I want to be appeal to the aficionados who are watching the game, and talk about the technical aspects of the game, or the mindset behind the game, or the human side behind the game. There are different approaches, and you pick your narrative. And sometimes as a cricketer, you're not necessarily observing these aspects, right? And then the minute you observe these aspects, then you get a decent perspective of, okay, this is probably his narrative. This is probably the narrative he's following. So maybe based on that, this is what he's saying about my game. And maybe it's not an agenda against me, or it's not that he doesn't like me. It's just that, this is how they're going about their work, and I'm going about my work, and this is how they're talking about my work. And that's all it is. That's all there is to it. And I think if you're gonna do a good job at what you're doing there, and if your job is to basically look and observe and watch athletes at work, and talk about and have an opinion about their technique, or just the way they go about their stuff, or how entertaining it is, there are going to be times when you're going to be critical about what someone does, right? And you got to take that in your stride. And I think as a cricketer, you take that. I remember, I think Akash Chopra, it was in my last game for KKR, where I was really struggling. On air, he said, maybe he should retire instead of, when retiring in T20 cricket wasn't the thing, because he's really struggling. He's not getting a ball off the middle of the bat. Maybe he should just retire, and give KKR a chance, perhaps. And I took so much offense to that. But when I had enough distance from it, is when I thought, hey, shit, maybe he was right at that point in time. Maybe he was not being critical, but he was actually suggesting something that he probably felt, when he was probably playing cricket or T20 cricket, where he probably had a day where he really struggled, and maybe he didn't see a solution like I didn't that match. And then he probably in hindsight felt, maybe just walking back and retiring myself out was the best option. And maybe that's it. Maybe what he said that day came from that place rather than, a negative place. And that, often happens when you get distance from the game, distance from even that particular situation.
Did you ever see much of Bob Willis, the TV broadcaster?
Personality?
Bob Willis,
No.
the cricketer.
Yeah, a little bit, but not much as a broadcaster. I, in fact, watched him bowl a lot more than watched him speak.
He's great to watch bowl. Also, he always used to put...
I watched a lot of cricket classics.
He used to stand so hard on the grass. There were always footprints where he get right into bowl. I never understood how he had bigger footprints than anyone else. But Bob Willis basically decided to be the fun commentator, right? Like late night commentator. And he would just say outlandish things over and over again. And a friend of mine who retired from cricket hated Bob Willis because the English cricketers would watch all day. Sky's really analytical during their broadcast, right? And then Bob Willis would come on the late night show and just go, Charles, they're all rubbish, Charles. Come on, Charles, let's get rid of it. Every time, he would just slag them all off. And it was hilarious, of course. Like, there were English fans who would have, like, T-shirts, with him saying, like, some of these things. And so this player retired, and he gets a job working with Bob Willis. And he's like, I'm going to tell Bob Willis, I'm going to embarrass him on air, right? Like, he's got this, he's so, like, in his own head. And he gets up, and Bob Willis goes, it's all make believe. This is just we just have to be as fun as possible for the fans, right? And that's how he shook his hand. And this guy just went, "Oh my god, why did I not know that for like a decade? Like if I just known that it was nonsense." And people had tried to tell this guy, "Look, we know Bob. He's the nice. If you meet Bob, you're gonna love him. But this is decided that this is how he's gonna be on air." And it was fun, and he was hilarious to watch him because it really was. He was so brilliant what he did. But you can imagine if you're a player and you don't know that, right? And it's the same thing of you think about what Ben Stokes is talking about. The English media is, what is it, 8, 9 newspapers in England. You throw in Cricinfo. I don't think CricBuzz have a reporter anymore. Then you've got maybe a couple of magazine people. You've got this room of 15 people who are all asking the same sorts of things of, do you think Ollie's going to play in the next test match? You can understand where Ben Stokes is coming from, but they're also, they've got to fill their copy, right?
Yeah.
They have to actually follow
the news. Job, right? It puts food on the table for them.
And if you don't follow it, which I haven't, right? But if you don't follow it, your editor's going to call you up and go, why are we not talking about Ollie Pope when the Guardian, the Independent, and the Times have all said that Ollie Pope is about to be dropped? So it once you understand the mechanisms, how these things work, it does change. I still think that cricket writing can be better and cricket media can be better, right? And that there are other things that can happen. But
all media can be better.
Yeah, most media can be better. There's no doubt about that. But I just thought it was a really interesting thing that I wanted to get your perspective. So that was quite cool. Let's talk about the IPL for a minute. I'm going to bring up something that Ruckshit will make look better on the page because now I've just made it look weird on YouTube. This is This is the betting market probability of the IPL before the season started. So the team that had the highest percentage chance of winning was the Sunrisers. They haven't made the playoffs. Mumbai haven't made the eliminator. Chennai have not made the playoffs. And KKR have not made the playoffs. Right? RCB was 5th, so they weren't that far away. Now, one thing I would say is when you're looking at betting odds, you have to remember that Mumbai fans bet a lot more than other people. So I would say that Mumbai probably should have been the 3rd favourites coming into this year, especially with Bumrah's injury and everything else. But this is what we have here of how it's ended up. So if you go down, you do have the Royals at the other end, but you can see where's Gujarat? Gujarat's here at what, 8% chance, 7.7% chance?
7.7.
So they've obviously done a lot better than we expected. But can I let me show you? I took all these odds and I ran them through my supercomputer. Right, and this is
what is your supercomputer?
So I came up with Mumbai was my my biggest chance of winning the title, and then I had Punjab at 4th. But you could still see. So you could say, "Oh, I've done very well. I picked 2 of the teams who've made the playoffs, and I picked the most surprising one to make the playoffs, right, in Punjab." But my supercomputer also said that Chennai, I was factoring in I thought their pitches might spin, but I also thought that Sunrisers would be better than they were this year. It shows you how hard this year has been that you have, I think there was $15 million in that betting pool, right? And smart people money, right? Maths people money. And they got it completely wrong. And I took their information and ran it through my advanced stats and still ended up really wrong. Like there's some things that we got right here, but look at where I have Gujarat. Like that's a long way. You know, even RCB, I wasn't particularly high. So it shows you just how hard I think and how much of a weird IPL season this has been. That like no one really
story. You know what? For me, this reiterates, Jar. I think this reiterates the fact that you can imagine you've had the best auction and you have the best team on paper. That doesn't mean it translates to performance, right? Who thought that KKR after that auction and the fact that they had a replacement for every freaking position, that they would muck up the way they did? Well, who thought that with having Mohammad Shami in the ranks, Zampa in the ranks, they would have to depend on an Ishan Malinga and Pat Cummins in the ranks, right? That they would actually have a tournament like this. You can't go, this again reiterates the fact that auctions mean nothing and good players mean nothing if you can't bring them all together and give them the best chance to perform well, right?
Whereas if you look at the Gujarat thing here of that top three. There's no way any of us could have predicted that the top three would be this good, because we've never seen a top three this good before, right? And not only have they been good at not losing wickets, but they've also scored at a decent rate in a season when we thought it was going to be a fast scoring season. So we thought they'd be behind even if we thought the top three would have made runs, we would have thought they would have been slightly slower. But in actual fact, it hasn't been like last year. There's been a bit of a regression back. And so you look at the Sunrisers. I've got the Sunrisers at third, and the betting market had them as first. But we're doing that on last year, and it's not the same season, right? You had to play this year a little bit differently. So it's I think it's been really, really fascinating. But the most important thing is, Robbie, who's going to win?
Oh, for me, I've said this before as well. Punjab or RCB. One of the two. That's been my gut instinct from the first day of the IPL. I remember telling Sheets. I said, Sheets, I don't know why. I have a feeling this year either Punjab or RCB are going to win. I don't know why.
When I did my probability, and I kept telling everyone that I really like Punjab, the amount of hate I got from people, including Punjab fans, to be fair, because people just aren't ready for them to be good. But I like that. I really liked RCB as well. And getting Hazelwood back is really important. Whereas Gujarat without Butler that's a pain, isn't it? And I also think that as good as Mumbai have been, I feel a lot more comfortable if they had the double chance. Do you know what I mean? Without the double chance, I'm like, things have to go right for you at that point, don't they?
You watched the game yesterday?
No, I missed it. I missed the one yesterday.
Bro, they looked really desperate yesterday.
Whereas Punjab have come back from the break looking pretty smooth, yeah?
Even though, and what I like about, and this is the thing, right? People don't understand how good of a captain Shreyas Iyer is, right? Shreyas Iyer is a very, very, very astute captain, a very astute human being as well, right? I wouldn't be surprised if he leads white ball cricket for India in a matter of a year or so, maybe a little bit more, but I don't know. But I feel like, I don't know. I think he's one of the misses in this test squad. I really think he would have done well in England.
I would have loved to have seen him come over. I almost think I love that Karan Nair is playing, and obviously
absolutely.
But I almost think it's a missed opportunity not to bring Shreyas out as well.
Yeah, 100%, without a doubt. Because I think he is he's very astute as a player, very astute as a captain, and very self-assured. I don't think people really enjoy that level of self-assuredness from Indians. You know, they're not used to it. It's not normal. The confidence in which he speaks makes him sometimes look arrogant, but it's just pure confidence. It's nothing else.
Can I say that? I think there's also a cultural thing here, because I remember talking to England about this, and that's who's saying, I called someone arrogant, and he's like, he's not arrogant. That's a negative word. I went, I don't think in Australia we think of arrogance as a negative word. We might think of it as a
cultural thing.
Yeah, I think we might think of it as, if you are arrogant, there is a chance you will fall. Do you know what I mean? Like it might come down. But I don't think we have the same sort of thing. Whereas other cultures really they're like, oh, arrogance is a bad thing. It's like, you have to create I do nothing compared to what you guys do, right? Like, as in, I don't have to go out in front of 10 million people and play a cricket game, or, and all this sort of stuff. But to be where I am 17 years into my career, where most of my career has been online, right? I have to deal with Twitter and YouTube and, hate campaigns from political parties and all these sorts of random things. You have to build yourself up in your head to be able to do the next piece, right? Otherwise, you go back, and I've seen this with people in my job before. Sometimes you get one thing wrong, and that's it. It defines you for the rest of your career, and you can never do it again. You have to build yourself back up. So there needs to be a certain amount of arrogance, bravado, and nonsense that, maybe deep down in your subconscious, you're like, oh, I'm faking this. But you have to build that back up, right? Because
you have to.
Otherwise, the bubble gets burst, and you don't have much left.
Yeah, and guys, as in, think about it, bro. As in, even him saying, we all knew that there was an issue with the short ball, but he was like, what issue? I don't have an issue with short ball. What are you talking about? In the press conference, he did that. You might think I have a problem. I don't. And I'm perfectly comfortable with the short ball. And here he comes into international cricket back again after 6 months and after an injury or whatever, and he's smashing the short ball like he's never had an issue with it. And that is building yourself up.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing. You build yourself up, till it actually manifests into your reality. And you got to live that. You need to have like a deep sense of confidence within yourself that this is going to happen to me. It's just a matter of when. It's not a matter of if.
A lot of people will say to me, "Oh, why don't you tag the player on Twitter, or why don't you send it to the agent of the player when you've done a big analysis?" And I was like, even if I've done something that I think could help them, I don't want to shake them out of the bubble that they're in to such a point where like I break them down. And like, I'm going to be really honest in my piece. I know with the Babar Azam one, there's a famous one where I know Babar Azam eventually saw the video, or at least was talked through the video by someone else, right? But that, I don't want to be the one who puts it in his timeline, because he's already got 20,000 other people attacking him, right? Because I know there might be something in that, but I'd rather a coach or a friend says, do you know what? I was watching this thing and I show you like a minute of it, or can I talk you through what he was saying, right?
Yeah.
Because
I think it'll serve you.
Yeah, and it's the same when I was an analyst with the team. I don't want to go up to a player and be like, "You've got this issue. We need to fix it." Like I want to keep them in their positive, mindset. I want them to feel like themselves, but I also want to get the other information to them. And I think that's the thing. And I know you work in this sort of stuff all the time. I think that's the really important thing. We can do all the analysis in the world, right? We can do all the coaching in the world. If you can't pump them up and make them feel like they can go out and take, a 90-mile-an-hour bouncer, right? The more you've actually done the wrong job. Like, you have to keep them at that space while also getting new information and getting fresh perspectives for them. And to be like, maybe let's just work on this thing today because we haven't worked on it for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And I think it's something that not many people have the awareness to do. And I'm really happy that you're doing it. And, I think when some of these bubbles are burst, it can really like leave you disintegrated. And, even when you collect the pieces together, you don't know how to put them back together. And then it impacts you in a deeply destructive way. So you got to be careful about this stuff, because these honest analysis, you need to kind of help people understand from a very human place without them breaking.
Exactly. And also the problem we've had in cricket is that, especially that video and data analysis isn't. I always found it funny. Well, I was working for St. Lucia and I was in my hotel room doing work, and I'd be watching the Last Chance University series on Netflix, and you've got junior college guys going through every single breakdown of every play, whatever. And I couldn't get cricketers to look at any footage because they hadn't been brought up looking at every ball they'd bowled in a game or whatever. It's like, it's simple things like that. Once you start to do that, you can keep your mindset while also doing the work, right? It's why, some of the best cricketers in the world are, and present company excluded, of course, but take diaries. It's because they want to, on this day I tried this and whatever. I know you do as well. That's why I was making fun of you. But I think that's a really important thing. But you don't want to force those sorts of things on people. But you do want them to be in a situation where it's open and honest, but knowing that they're going to go out and do a physical act that there may be only a couple of hundred people on the planet who can do. You have to make sure that they are a whole person when they go out on the field, and then they're not going out there going, I shouldn't be here, this is a mistake. Because you do that against a top level player and you're just just absolutely dice chicken at that stage, right? Like, there's nothing left of you. So it's really important, the whole piece. Talking about elite 100%. Performance, Robbie, shall we have a look at North London Cricket Club versus Richmond Cricket Club? Now, I said this to Robbie beforehand. So I played against both these teams. I used to play for Barnes, and we played in the Middlesex League, which I think this is the Middlesex League, right? So North London Cricket Club made 426 for 6 in their 45 overs. So I'm pretty sure, Robbie, that they sell scoreboards in the UK that don't go past like 300 or 350 in some cases. So that tells you how many runs have been made in this particular. Someone was telling me that the other day, that there was a big issue with a lot of cricket clubs. They all bought this one kind of scoreboard and it doesn't go that high. And now people are scoring so much quicker than they used to. I don't know if that's true, but it was a great story. They made 426. Richmond Cricket Club made 2. I am going to assume this is the same Richmond Cricket Club because it's got the little deer thing in their logo.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's I think it's the same one that I'm right. That this is the cricket club that Adam Gilchrist came to the UK and played at. And I think if you go through their list, Robbie, they've had some pretty good overseas players go through that club over the years. So to be bowled out for 2 and have the opposition make 426 is about as bad as you can get. Shall we have a look at the scorecard?
I want to see the scorecard. Like, what the heck happened there? Michael Rothall.
I could. The first thing you're going to notice is they made 2, but how many of their players scored, Robbie?
1. Oh my God! Only Tom
the other one was a wide.
And who got the wickets? Who's this guy? How many wickets did he get? Thomas Spotton.
I think it was only 6 overs. It was the 2 opening bowlers. So one guy got
1, 2, 3, and the other guy got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 8 wickets. No, there's a run out 9. And then one guy didn't bat.
Did not bat. I wonder why he didn't bat at that stage.
Vikram Manglo didn't bat.
Do you know what? I've got the website here. I wonder if I can click in and see his stats. Oh, wait, let me click on his stats. That's a shame. I wonder if he normally bats and he was just... Oh, it could have just been there was a club game and he had to go to a wedding early or something, right? Like, it's...
Yeah,
it's. Did you ever play club cricket in the UK?
I played... no, I haven't played club cricket in UK, but I actually traveled there with this club from India called Star Cricket Club when I was 15. It was run by this former India cricketer called Kailash Gathani. So Kailash would bring us there, and we were there for we were there for 3 weeks, and then we played 17 matches in 3 weeks. So, and we played against different clubs. It was a lot of fun. I scored a lot of runs. It gave me a lot of confidence.
It is such a random thing, English club cricket, where my team the other day, I think we were defending 130 odd, right? And we got we got the other team maybe 6 or 7 wickets down, but mostly it was fielding errors that cost us the game, right? Including mine. I ran over a couple of balls. And one of the other guys was talking to me about the game, and he said, "Do you think cricketers in Australia are just better than England?" And I said, "Let me tell you about my history of playing cricket in Australia. If I was playing the same level of cricket in Australia, everyone would have had to be at the ground an hour and a half before and do fielding practice. We also would have gone to training on Tuesday. We would have gone training on Thursday. We would have done an hour of fielding practice on one of those days as well." And I said, not a single member of our team even threw the ball to each other before we went onto the field. English cricket is so wild. It's just, it's so village. They sort of turn up and they play, and they've got 700 quid bats. Right? So it's they've got these incredible equipment and yet they're just out there with no preparation or whatever. And then the wickets, we've got 3 wickets. They've already asked you to come down and play at New Beckenham when you're here. I said, I'll do what I can. There's 3 wickets at New Beckenham. The top wicket, not too bad. It can get a little bit of pace, comes onto the bat quite nice. They've got another wicket that I swear is just goose shit. Right? I just don't understand the other wicket at all. And then the 3rd wicket, right, never gets above knee high. No matter what you do, every ball just seems to roll. And I'm like, they have to be all made of the same clay. How do you have 3 completely different wickets? It's like the groundsman's like, I'm going to make this.
Who's the groundsman?
Yeah, it's just the other 2 wickets. He's like, I'm not as interested in those. I don't know, but everything's always so random in English cricket. I remember going to a preseason training session when I was at Barnes, and it was there were 3 guys at the preseason training session. I was like, what are we even doing here, guys? We can't even do a fielding drill. There aren't enough of us to do fielding.
Oh my God! But that's English cricket, right? Because they own the game. Or they invented the game. They feel we don't need to do this stuff, perhaps.
I think it's just, they just think about it in a very, very different way. It really is. Anyway,
you know what we should do? We should actually do a whole meme section on just village cricket. It'd be so much fun. The fielding errors.
We can get the what are they called? Cricket District to send us some of their videos if you want, and we could do live. You can do live reactions to just how bad.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
I mean,
that'd be so cool.
Some of the things I've just seen happen on these cricket fields of I saw a guy recently who it wasn't a low level of cricket. It was too high a level of cricket for this to happen, Robbie. But the umpire said, "Do you want guard?" And he went, "What's that?" Which instantly tells you, like, okay, this guy hasn't played a lot of cricket. But I was at the other end, and he faced one ball where he was a foot outside leg stump, right? And then 2 minutes later, he was facing a ball, and I could see middle stump because he was so far on the other side. like,
Oh my God.
just like really, like under 11 stuff. Where you just like, oh my, like it's so.
I would have lost
chaotic
complete
sometimes.
interest.
Yeah,
I would have lost complete interest immediately.
see, I did the opposite. I would have been like, I take the pads off. I need the bowl now because I reckon I can get this guy. cheap wickets. All right, should we do some memes? What memes do we have this week? Let's have a look. Oh wait, where's Ruckshit? Here it is. What do you know what that movie's from?
It's a Rajnikant movie basically, and so it's one of his movies that I don't know the context of this, but I'm trying to understand what this meme means. Can someone educate us, please?
Well, I mean, for me, I think it's him telling the most incredible story to all of his
Story.
friends. Yeah, when he comes back
Yeah.
to school. Does he actually? I know this is the meme section, but if he's a cricketer at that level, does he still go to normal schooling, or will he be taken out and be mentored at this point?
No, now I think things change a lot now. You know.
Yeah.
Um.
Because
Yeah.
the old days, you'd still
Actually,
go to school, wouldn't you? You would go back to school and then just disappear all the time when you had to play. I mean, Corey
my
Anderson
mom would
got
kick
picked-
my ass if I didn't go to school.
Yeah, I reckon Corey Anderson. It was his principal who told him he got picked for first class cricket because they had to leave the school to go. He was already training with them and had to go. So it was very
Yeah.
common in those days that you were involved in school. I wonder now if you
Yeah.
just get. It's a bit more like the Hollywood kids, right? Where you maybe have mentors and not mentors, but individual teachers rather than
Tutors.
anything else. Yeah, tutors. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Welcome, Rishabh Pant! Welcome! Let's go! We have the superstar, Rishabh Pant! We're coming for the trophy!
Oh, poor thing. I saw this. This is
I feel sorry for this guy.
yeah. I feel sad. I feel sorry for Rishabh more than this guy, to be honest.
I feel sorry for Rishabh and this guy because you now know that every time that anything happens with Rishabh Pant, people are going to bring this meme back out. And this guy is just like, but I was just excited that my team got a good guy. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like, this is what you want. You and I talk about the toxicity of cricket fans sometimes. This is what we want, though. We want a guy who's just genuinely excited. A good thing has happened to him, Robbie.
That's true.
And then it all
Yeah.
went to shit for this guy. Like, he's
Yeah.
now just in a fetal position in the corner of his room, right? He hasn't moved in a month, this dude.
No, this guy actually, these two lads actually run a decent podcast. I've actually been on it, and they're actually very passionate about cricket. But they're also, I think,
I saw.
Did you?
I mean, I almost saw a vein in his head explode.
Yeah, yeah. So he's actually a content creator as well. So I think he's also working for LSG, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I don't know if this will stick, but he'll remember this for a really long time.
Yeah. Look, if you are a content creator, it's really important to remember that you're always going to have one of these moments. Everyone's had one of these moments, and you have to almost embrace it. I wrote publicly that I thought Australia should take a dead donkey to England ahead of Steve Smith. And that has not aged as well as I would like it to have aged, Robbie. There are a lot of people who are wrong about Steve Smith, but there weren't many people who used the dead donkey analogy, is all I'm saying. So, when you get something wrong, you might as well make it as dramatic as this man or as poetic or unpoetic as I was.
Yeah. Tell us about your meetings with Steve Smith now.
Do you know what? I don't think Steve Smith. He can't be the sort of person that has a chip on his shoulder the whole time, right? Because everyone said, I was in a press conference where Ricky Ponting was asked if Steve Smith could ever bat in the top 6 for Australia, and he smiled and giggled and went, no. Right? And Steve Smith had just made 77 at Headingley against Pakistan, and the good Pakistan, right? And this is Ricky Ponting going, no, he can never be a batter. for the Australian team. Like everyone thought that Steve Smith wasn't going to make it. You know, it was literally Trent Woodhill, Steve Smith, and Steve Smith's mum. They were the only three people in the world that thought he was going to make it at that point.
Okay, let's jump to the next one. DC first, yeah. That's what happens when you take momentum for granted. You know, when you make light of momentum.
I think they had a soft opening to their season, and I don't think they were ever that good. I just don't. I never rated them particularly high. If you go back, you know, I do the power rankings. They were like number one, and I was still saying I don't feel comfortable with them here. I don't think they're that good. I'm really worried about them. So I don't know if I agree with you on the momentum. I just think that they were a flawed side who, I mean, they don't even know who their top order is, dude.
Well, I'm not saying anything about that. I think they the minute they started kind of chopping and changing that batting order every game, you just knew this was going to happen. It was a matter of time.
Because they don't know what their top order is. Like, do you know, if you don't feel like with Gujarat, I converted to Gujarat really early on. I'm like, okay, I get the bowling unit and I get the batting unit. It might still fall apart, but I can see how this works. With Delhi, I was just like, I don't see how they keep winning games.
Oh, this works, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. All right, let's get to some super chats. Let's get rid of the horse. I do like that horse, by the way. Jack says, how do you not get burnt out?
Yes, how do you not get burnt out, Jar? I'm like, how are you still married?
Well, I might not be. We're supposed to be going on holiday today, actually, so I haven't even packed. It's just talking about cricket. Like, I know it's performing, and I know it's different than it would be if me and Robbie were talking shit off mic, which we also do. But it is just talking about cricket at a certain point. Also, thankfully, Zimbabwe lost the test within a day, so I just had a day off. So I can tell you what, if you want to know how I didn't get burnt out, I went to bed really early so I could get up and record with Robbie. I then came out to my studio, looked at my phone, and found out that Robbie had to cancel yesterday and went back to bed. So I slept for like 12 hours yesterday. So I do like to sleep when I get a chance. I don't get many chances to sleep like that because I have too many children.
You're welcome, buddy. You're welcome.
So thank you very much. Mob King says, just want to shout out you guys for being good. I don't know if we can say that word on YouTube or not, but thank you very much, Mob.
Thanks, Mob King. Appreciate it, buddy.
A legend from New Zealand. Kaushal says, why players from Maharaja Premier League have not clicked compared to DPL or UPPL? Is there a difference in quality of cricket and all these local leagues? Do you know anything about this?
Well, yeah. So there again. So I'll have to go into the cultural aspects of cricket in India, and for some reason there's it's going to take a really long time to explain this one, Kushal, but I'm going to try and I'm going to try and say this as best I can. There's something about I think the mindset, or not the mindset, I think shit, this is a damn good question, and I don't know how I'm going to answer this in like 2 minutes.
Shit pitches.
No, I genuinely want to answer that question because it's a cultural thing.
Is it a different kind of professionalism in that league than maybe some of the others?
No. It's if you're talking about professionally run leagues, the leagues in the south of India are the most professionally run leagues.
Yep.
Like they're really well organized.
So you don't have a situation where there might be a team owner who also happens to be playing in the team. It's not that kind of stuff.
Oh no, there used to be a time when that happened, but then it matured from there to what it is now. Now it's like almost but the BCCI set a directive that every state must have their own league, even if it's for a short period of time, so that we can unearth new talent. So now it's become a lot more professional. It used to be like, village cricket at some point to promote it. But I think now, when you say not clicked, I think they haven't gotten opportunities. But if you look at some of the youngsters who are in the squads in some of the franchises today, like a KL Suchit hasn't gotten an opportunity. There's a Smaran from Karnataka who hasn't gotten an opportunity, who's been in the, I think, SRH side as a replacement. Manoj Bhange is someone who's got one opportunity so far in all the years that he's played for RCB. So I don't think um, they get the opportunity, even though they're with Srijit. It's KL Srijit. Sorry, not Sujit. KL Srijit has not gotten an opportunity. He's with Mumbai Indians. Vaishak Vijay Kumar, again someone who's done well in the IPL, hasn't gotten has got few opportunities with Punjab. I think he'll play the back end. Shreyas Gopal has been a part of the CSK side. He didn't get an opportunity. So it's not like they don't make it, but they don't get picked for some reason. And I think it runs deeper than, I think it's the perception of people from the South and South Indians versus the perception of people from the North and that. So I think it's a cultural thing more than a cricket thing, to be honest.
Makes sense. Jack says, BCCI's pushed the boundaries of brilliance by scheduling a test in November in Delhi. I sound naive, but shouldn't player safety trump political lobbying? Can the players not protest against playing in unsafe conditions? It's also really tough for the Indian players because...
I like how Jack thinks players have a say in this part of the world.
Well, but it is tricky for the Indian players. Do you remember, was it the Sri Lankans who had their face masks on? And I talked to some Indian players who were like, we would have liked to have them on too, but it's harder for us to be able to do that. So, you're right. I think the idea that the players have a say over that is naive. But we are getting to a point where cricket in Delhi is getting really tough, right?
Well, generally, life in Delhi is getting pretty tough. Like living there is like breathing a pack of cigarettes a day. Yep. Every day, it's like you're smoking a pack of cigarettes.
Comster says, why is Eashwaran in the squad again? The management clearly don't trust him. Anytime there's been a spot in the past, they've flown people from across the world rather than play him. This is another thing that we were talking about before of like that headspace thing. I think the same thing happened in the Zimbabwe test, right? Where Zimbabwe had an injury and they brought in another bowler. But the bowler that they brought in as replacement came into the side ahead of the other guys. And you're like, well, what does that say to the guy in the squad at that point?
And these are the human aspects that guys like, selectors or sometimes athletes don't really understand, right? And even if you do choose to do this, it's important to have a human conversation, like just to have a conversation with the person that is there and not going to play on a very human level, not from an athletic or a sport level, but at a very human level, because it can disintegrate the confidence you have as a person, not just as an athlete. You'll start second guessing and doubting yourself if you don't have this conversation. So even if you are going to do something like this, it's important to make sure you have a conversation with said person who's actually there in the squad. With Eashwaran, I think, like we've discussed this at length on the podcast, Comster. So I think maybe you can just watch that bit.
Agreed. In the spirit of moving on, Comster again. In the spirit of moving on from the old guard, is it time for Akshar to take Jadeja's spot in the team? Also, is Kuldeep a starter in England? Kuldeep might play in England now just because of the wickets.
Yeah, I think Kuldeep might play in England. No, I think it'll depend on what kind of wickets people get there and what the conditions are there.
Old Trafford, he could play.
Yeah,
a lot of Rispin does well at Old Trafford. If it keeps being this dry, the Oval will be a really interesting test match by the time they get there.
Yeah,
there's no reason for Akshar to take over from Jadeja. The question that you need to have with Jadeja, and this is where grown-ups just need to be in the room together, of how long are you planning on playing? And if Jadeja needs to make.
I hope they've had that conversation with him. Had that conversation with him.
Yeah, because I think that's fair. Because if he's like, I want to play for another 3 years, you don't really need Akshar to take over from him, right?
Yeah. Then Akshar becomes clear, like the front runner in, I think, white ball cricket then.
Triple Stroke says, why certain overseas players like Klaasen, Inglis, etc. only get proper IPL backing in the 30s, but players like Maxi, even after failing, gets paid high? Well, it's important to know with Klaasen that he was a real late bloomer. And he's talked about this himself. Basically, from the moment Klaasen got good, he has been playing in all the leagues around the world. But it took a while because he wasn't good for a long period of time. So that's a very different situation than someone from Maxwell. Maxwell was like a star at a very young age. Probably, what, 22,
I wouldn't call him a star, as in he was a prodigy for sure.
No, but that's what I mean. But that wasn't what Klaasen was. Like, people were talking. So Maxwell was playing for Victoria when he was batting at number 8 and not bowling. Like, they were just fitting him into the team any way that they could when he was 20, 21, 22. Whereas Klaassen spent years in the wilderness trying to work on his game. So he's very different. And Inglis is an interesting one in that if you look at Inglis's career, he's probably what I would call a peak player. Up until he turned 28, 29, he probably just wasn't at this level, right? Whereas at 24, 25, Maxwell had skills that were very desirable and were very useful. Also, I think the other thing that people always forget about Maxwell is for all the up years and down years he's had in the IPL, for a long time, he was one of the best fielders in the IPL. And he's also a very handy bowler in those conditions as well. Whereas,
He's a better bowler than a batter.
well, at the moment he is. I mean, he's bowled really well over the last couple of years, right?
He's been in the IPL for a really long time. I don't know how you'll perceive him in Australia, but I think in India, I think we've gotten to a place where we've always paid him too much just for his potential as a batter. I think we've discussed this before. 2014 was the best season he had. And I think since 2016, 17, he's only been a better bowler than a bat.
Oh, he had a couple of good years, though, in there with RCB as well. This is the thing with him. He's good
more with
years.
the ball.
Oh, yeah. I think with the ball, I actually think when
Yeah.
he first started playing, if you would have told me he'd ever be this good with the ball, I'd have been like, that's impossible. I remember, Robbie, he was so bad at off spin when I first started watching him bowl and I talked to him about this. He would come around the wicket. And I said, are you coming around the wicket because it's the only way to make your technique work? And he went, yeah. He was so honest. He was just like, yeah, I am bad at off spin. And he's become so much better now than he used to be. But yeah, with Inglis has not been in the Australian team triple stroke. Do you know what I mean? So Inglis has been like the Eastwarren of the Australian limited overs team in that he's gone in a lot of squads and very rarely gets picked. And Klaassen just developed way later than he should have. Klaassen's probably mid-20s. He really disappeared and struggled quite a bit. And now he's come back to be fantastic. Sandip says, Jarrod and Robin, please predict England-India series results and why. I think we did it earlier, Sandip, but I have England as slight favourites at the moment. There's not a lot of rain around. I'll go 3-2 based on that. But there's not much in it. If India won 3-2, I also wouldn't be surprised.
I'd say, 3-2 is what I said when someone asked me to predict yesterday on television. I said 3-2 India, obviously. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 2-2 and one draw as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, going back to what I said before, Old Trafford and Edgbaston have been really run heavy. So it is, and also neither of these teams have great bowling attacks at the moment, right? They don't have full bowling attacks. So if we do keep getting the flat pitches, I think that's very fair. Lentils says, if I am Indian batting, I can't see a single reason of being scared of English bowling. With due respect, are Bashir, Atkinson, Cass, Tongue, that level. So the one that I like in that is Cass. I don't think he's like a top-level world-class bowler, but I do like Cass a lot. But yeah, Bashir, I wouldn't be worried about if I was India. Atkinson on current form, I would not be worried about. And Tongue is interesting because, as I said before, he feels to me like someone where like they want him to be the enforcer, but he doesn't really know how to bowl six bounces in an over. Like he's not Neil Wagner, right? He's not.
Yeah.
So, and he's not. I think his best ball is really good because he has that weird action where he sort of fades in, but he also gets a lot of things wrong. Like there's a lot of runs to be scored off Tongue on a bad day. He's also, Robbie, one of the worst fielders in the world, and I really appreciate that about him. We don't get enough bad fielders anymore, right? Professionalism has killed the bad fielders. And when you get a bad fielder, right, when you get a Mujib...
Where are the Monty Panesas of the world, right?
I mean, Mujib is pretty funny. Like, there are some times when I'm watching Mujib where I'm like, he might get hit in the face here. He might actually get hit in the face. But you're right. There aren't as many Monty Panesar ones as we used to. Even Monty looks down on, he's just like, why is everyone stopping the ball? Where are we? Pranav says, Karan is from the Maharaja Trophy, shows quality.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Maharaja Cup is a superb tournament. I think it's run really well. I think it brings out a lot of talent from Karnataka. But for some reason, the Karnataka lads, and I've spoken about this in the past, that, for the Karnataka or the South teams, for the teams from the south of India or the players from the south of India to be noticed, you have to win the Ranji Trophy. You have to win domestic championships. That's when you get noticed. It's not going to happen otherwise.
And Bishop Sharma says 3 months IPL feels too long. Wouldn't it be better to have 2 matches at the same time in the future when it moves to 94 matches, as the afternoon is too hot? I agree. I think a lot of people will say things like, how are we going to have the IPL longer when it already feels too long? And it's like, the problem at the moment is you have one game to watch each night, and sometimes those games are crap. For a sport to really work, you want 2, 3, or 4 options, so you can pick the game that's really good, or you can just watch your team. That's the future of these longer leagues. It's not
Yeah, and I think
having
it will
one
go to
game
that.
a night all the time.
It will go to that. It has to go to something like that,
Yeah.
right? It can't not go to that. It will go to that.
Also, that allows for Robbie to do more commentary, and I want to see if we can actually break him as a man at that point.
No, you won't break me as a man. I by then I think my coaching company will take off, man. 2 years from now.
I think you meant your podcasting company. That is Robbie. I'm Jarrod. Thank you to everyone here for the comments and the likes. And
Yet
all that
again,
sort of
we
stuff.
said 1 hour and we've gone to an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah. I didn't even. We
Peace
bet.
out.
I just feel like we don't even have anything to say, and then we just never shut the hell up.
Yeah, sorry, dude.
All right. We'll see you again next time for another KimAppa.